Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. I am Eos, and welcome to another episode of the Logical Gamers podcast. Tonight, I am here with Blankakong and Mr. Esoteric, and tonight's episode is going to be about the upcoming hype machine, pun intended, that is Armored Core 6: Fires of the Rubicon. Now, this is the latest installment in the Armored Core series. This is the sixth one, if you couldn't tell by the number. And needless to say, our little group here in Logical Gamers are pretty fucking hyped for this game coming out. So much so, some are hyper than others because, kind of plug for the stream. But if you want to see the sick ass collector's edition being opened up live on Twitch chat, check out Mr. Esoteric's stream because he's going to be doing a whole live unboxing of that. He's got the big one too, like the big Wombo one with the fucking hanger and everything. Like he ain't messing
Damn,
around.
you got
So
the big boy one?
Yeah, got the big
Oh,
boy one.
shit, okay.
yeah, not the scrub one with just the regular AC. Now he got the whole kit and caboodle. So
Listen, you know how I am about my mechs, man. I love mechs. Grew up on them. They're amazing, cool as shit.
so hey, check that out because I'm just getting the game like a scrub lord. So I'm gonna be tuned in. So make sure you're tuned in. But needless to say, if you couldn't tell, we're pretty hyped for the game. So this episode is going to just kind of be talking about the hype, talking about the story trailer that came out, the gameplay trailer that came out pretty recently as of the filming of this one, and we're just gonna it's a Armored Core gushing session. So we're gonna talk about how many Armored Cores have we played. None of us are like hardcore. We haven't played every single one, but we've played enough. Like we're all mech enjoyers. We're big Gundam fans, Ghost in the Shell fans, mech anime fans in general. So we're just gonna talk about that. Some of the fucking brain dead takes that have been coming out on the internet in regards to AC6. And talk about like why Gundam. Because this is something I was thinking about. Why Gundam, arguably a way more popular franchise, compared to Armored Core, seems to struggle with their video game adaptations, while Armored Core just, in my opinion, does the mech genre right. So, it's going to be a kind of smorgasbord episode for this one. No specific hardline topic, but again, we hope you enjoy. And we're going to start this off. So, I'll just start off very quickly myself. I kind of jumped into Armored Core super late. I have a copy of Armored Core 2 back on the PlayStation 2 that I played, but I mostly hopped in really late. So I mostly hopped in Armored Core 4. Now, if you weren't around when Armored Core 4 came out, you kind of know the funny, I guess, controversy about it is that that shit was fucking hard as balls, and I'm not talking about the gameplay. I'm talking about fucking putting an arm on your Armored Core. There was like numbers and spreadsheets, stats, and I'm like, I feel incredibly underqualified for this game. So I think, like most people, I never got out of the fucking hangar because I was overweight or I didn't have enough energy, whatever it was, I couldn't get out. So my journey with Armored Core 4 died pretty quickly. Then, luckily, Bandai Namco dropped Armored Core 4 Answer, which was the same game with new content, so they did add new content. But what they really changed is they changed the customization of it and made it a lot. They didn't dumb it down to like fucking first grade math, but they dumbed it down to like just the average Joe can understand. It's like, okay, so this what this number means. This is my energy level, my weight, capacity, all that good stuff. So I enjoyed Armored Core 4 Answer. Armored Core 5 was another good one. I remember spending way more time in the customization screen for my emblem than actually playing the game, which Armored Core 6 looks to be it's going to do that in spades because the amount of customization you can do in Armored Core 6 is pretty freaking nuts. We'll talk about that. And now I'm here with 6. I've always liked Armored Core. It's not a franchise that comes out very often, which I think that's a reason why people get hyped for Armored Core, because it's not like, no offense, but it's not like Pokemon, because then we got some Pokemon fans and whatnot. They're very defensive of their franchise, but it's not like Pokemon games that come out pretty much clockwork. Armored Core comes out like once a generation, maybe twice a generation, depending on how long it goes. So, there's a reason why people get hyped for Armored Core. So, before I ramble any longer, that's just my brief stint with Armored Core. We'll get more into it later. But yeah, I'm gonna pass it off to you, gentlemen. What do we think about what we saw? We saw the trailers before we started filming, so we see how the game looks. We see what the story's gonna bring. Like, what are we thinking? I know Esoteric's he's already sold. He's
yeah.
in. He's in.
Yeah. I'm absolutely stoked about this game. I too started with Armored Core 4. Didn't get past the hangar. The game wasn't user friendly, or maybe I was just a big ass idiot. I have no idea what it was so ever. Um, and to your point, Gunnar, about Armored Core not coming out as often as, like, say, Pokemon. I don't think Armored Core get that much advertisement either. I think this is the biggest Armored Core that has gotten a lot of advertisement pertaining to launch.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
Because honestly, I didn't even know that there was a 4 answer. I didn't know that there was a 5 until very recently. Maybe I was just out of the loop of video games at that time. But as far as, if I'm not mistaken, Armored Core 4 was released in, like, what, '06? So I was pretty much coming out of high school into college during that time. And I stumbled upon a game. I saw, like, again, I love mechs. I saw the cover art for it. I was like, oh shit, this looks really cool. This looks interesting. Let me try it out. Brought it home. I couldn't get my mech assembled properly and things like that. I was like, what is this shit? And then I literally traded it back. I really returned it. And you know how I am about my games. I don't really return much games. So for me to do that, it was just really frustrating. Um, for me to try to understand how to play the game, or it could have just been me being super young and
No,
not being patient.
I don't think so, because it was such a problem that that's why For Answer exists, because you weren't the only one who just like couldn't really get the system. And it wasn't because you know it, I- we're smart enough to grasp numbers. A lot of us play RPGs, which are all about number crunching, but this was like you didn't know where the numbers were going. You didn't really know what they meant. It was tough. So trust me, we weren't the only ones, because that's why For Answer exists as a whole. So it's not just you, pretty much.
Yeah, and man, I'm just really upset because I'm like, when I've seen it, Armored Core 6, I was like, wait a minute, they had a 5, and then I found out that there was a 4 answer, and I was like, what is going on here? Like, it's crazy that I miss these, because I play games pretty often, and I usually look for those niche titles and stuff like that. But those titles, like, literally flew under the radar. And I mean, that's typically games from software in a nutshell, and still until they started, like, really gaining popularity with the Soul series. I think it's more so their community. I would like the little community from the Souls games franchise that makes them super popular. But even then, they don't really advertise their games, as far as to my knowledge, like that. Um, I'm kind of rambling on, but anyways, like, I'm really stoked about 6. It looks interesting. Again, the whole mech atmosphere, guns blazing, shells dropping on the floor, explosions all over the place. You know, you got quadruped mechs, you got biped mechs, you just got, like, mechs with orbital guns all around them. Like, this shit is amazing. Like, I'm just ready to just blow shit up and just go ham, and just, oh man, like, I'm just gushing about it right now. Like, oh man, you know what? I'll speak more about it. Go ahead, Carl. Go ahead. I'm just, I can't talk right now. Can't talk right
Calm yourself down, man. Get a towel.
Yeah, right.
now.
So no, you're justified, man. I get it. Like, so for me, like, Armored Core was always a franchise that I was always interested in. I knew it existed back in the PS2 era. Um, and I remember specifically, like, Armored Core 2, just seeing the cover. It was just a mech, right, in, like, a desert, like, plain. I remember seeing it on the shelf, like, wow, this looks kind of cool, right? Because I've always had like an interest in like machinery, robots, things like that. Like, that started with like Mega Man and Bionic Commando. So like it dated, that interest, started then and kind of like slowly kind of grew over time. Like there were phases where I was into other things, but I was always into like machinery and stuff, like just how it looked and how it moved, and even how machinery sounds. Like it's always been interesting to me. Um, so when I saw Armored Core 2, I definitely picked it up, and I had another Armored Core game too. I forget which one it was, but unfortunately, I didn't get to play. I didn't make the time to play them because at this point in time, I was just collecting games, and I was just kind of filling my collection. And eventually, I had sold my entire PS2 collection, which I regret, but it is what it is. It's in the past. So I never got to enjoy those games or even try them. But I did try Armored Core 4, and I did have the same issue that you guys had, where I was at the hangar and I saw the stats or whatever, and I just ignored it. I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna put shit on my guy and just go. And nope, the game was like, you are not leaving. You're over budget. Your robot's too heavy, too much energy. Oh, yeah. I was like, what? I can't leave? Are you kidding me? And then like there's no like, at least I don't remember there being like a reset, like a default. You have to like manually take everything off, and I was like, oh, this is too much work. So I just didn't. I just stopped there. So I think you're right. I think it was definitely a design flaw. I mean, I was also a dumb fuck too. Like I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like that wasn't the case. But like From Soft Games have always had an issue with UI design. You see that even in current games like Elden Ring. I think these games are fantastic and they're as close to perfect as I think possible. But some of the glaring problems with like the Souls games is like small icons that are hard to decipher what they mean, terminology that isn't really like common, things like that. It's like you gotta like open up the wiki to like really understand what you're looking at. Even like Capcom has this issue where armor effects aren't clear. Like it'll be just like slight increase. It's like, well, what the fuck does slight mean? Like I need a number, right? And so
yeah, a lot of ambiguity.
Yeah, which maybe that's just a kind of a Japanese thing, to maintain a certain level of mystery. I don't know.
It could also be a translation type of deal.
It could be. Even if like I was having this conversation with somebody, I forget, a few months ago, like about King of Fighters. So in King of Fighters, not to like stray too far away, but I'm talking about UI stuff. King of Fighters, they have like the trials or whatever, like where you could like practice like these combos, and then they would have like these different symbols that were so weird, and it's just like it would be like this weird line, and it's like, oh, that means this is an attack you do while you're in the air. And it's like, well, what? Like that doesn't. This symbol doesn't tell me that. Like I don't.
Oh.
So like Souls games have that tendency as well, where they will have like these symbols, and it's like, what the fuck does that mean? It's like, oh, this is just slash damage. I'm like, that's a slash. What? So like Armored Core kind of has that same issue, I think, in a different way, where things aren't super clear. You just see numbers, and it's really easy to get overwhelmed by just a wall of fucking text in the form of numbers. It's like, what does this all mean, right? To the average person, to the average gamer. So like, math maniacs out there, like for them that's like a wet dream, but not all of us are wired that way. So anyway, I did play Armored Core 5. That's the one that I played the most. And I loved that game. Me and Zeta and Gunner, and I think Wolf, all picked it up. I don't know what you were doing, Esoteric, at the time. I don't remember, but
I don't know.
I think because the multiplayer was 4 players, I think you just bowed out. I think that's what might have happened. I'm not sure.
No, I mean, because I would have absolutely known about it, because we have a tendency within our group, like one person can't make it for the night. Okay, well I'm jumping in. So
right,
I don't know what it was.
Working on them Coco shows.
Could be.
But
you might have been working on Street Fighter.
We were all playing Street Fighter. I don't know. Like,
I don't know. Maybe you didn't. No, you had the system to play it on. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't remember. I don't know what happened there. But anyway, had Armored Core 5, and I loved the game. Just like the aesthetics of like booting up the game. I was just telling the guys before we started recording, like we were watching Armored Core 6 content, like the trailers and stuff, and I was like, yo, the boot up screen in Armored Core 5 was so cool. And it's very small. Like if you went and looked it up, you're like, yeah, it's nothing special. But like, I don't know. At the time, I was just like, this is so sick. And I think that's around the time that Iron Man, maybe no, Iron Man was a few years before, but like it had the Iron Man aesthetic where it's just like these fucking charts would come up and like it would make the little sounds and the fucking AI would talk to you like, good morning, welcome, and she would like break the stats down for you and shit and break down the missions or whatever. It's like, oh, this is so cool. So little things like that I really enjoyed about Armored Core, and then obviously the actual gameplay of you actually getting out there and fighting, you know, and completing these missions and getting into combat is really fun. I remember having like missions where I was like down to like no bullets, like I was just like almost out of ammo,
Yep.
and just being like, okay, how am I gonna use this last magazine or whatever. Like those moments in Armored Core is so intense and so much fun. You really have to ration out your materials, and I think that's kind of why I liked it too. Is I like Resident Evil for its inventory management, game design, and so there's a little bit of that in Armored Core, as well as like, you know, when you're customizing your robot or your mech or mobile suit, whatever you want to call it, you have to keep those things in mind. You go, okay, well, this is going to be an energy based suit. This is going to be a more like kinetic suit where you're shooting just like raw bullets or whatever, and that all costs money. Like you have a certain budget, and like you can complete a mission and then owe money if you use too much ammo, which is crazy, right?
They go to your paycheck.
Yeah, it's like that's wild to me. That's really, but it's cool though. It really makes you think
I
about what
remember
you're
that.
doing.
Yeah, you got charged for the amount of.
Yeah, which is nuts. Which is like, maybe I should just go fucking energy, right? But energy has its limitations. Where it's like, you know, if your shit overheats, your gun will just like fucking clunk out, and it's like, oh well, fuck.
Right,
Now
and then
I can't use it.
You thrusting using when you like super boost that
Yeah,
energy.
that uses energy
thrusting
too.
uses energy. Yeah,
You have a
energy
limited
builds
capacity. Yeah, so. Anyway, so we watched Armored Core 6 trailers and stuff. It's the first time watching it, so I try to stay away from the trailers.
Yeah.
I only watched it for the sake of this conversation. And we were all just giddy watching
Yeah.
Armored Core
super
6.
mesmerized.
It looks so good. Despite some odd opinions online.
Yeah,
But
we can talk about that. Yeah,
sure, I think I've said enough. I kind of rambled and talked about various things, so you could take it away. We could talk about specifically 6 and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so 6 it's always been niche, right? I said previously that they don't make a lot of it. It's not something that appears multiple times in a console generation, but it's also, regardless of it, it's a niche franchise. It's kind of like Monster Hunter back in the day, or fighting games back in the day, where, you know, they had their community of dedicated people who liked it, and, you know, the games never skyrocketed, but the people who liked Armored Core bought Armored Core, and they played Armored Core. So, you know, 6 is on fancy new machines. It's on PC, it's on PS5, it's on Xbox Series X, and it's also on PlayStation 4. And so basically last gen and current gen consoles. So because of that, a lot more people are now seeing Armored Core, and also the From Software name has a lot more prestige and draws a lot more eyes to it than it did back in Dark Souls, in Demon Souls 1. So when people see From Software game, they immediately sit up, because like, oh, these are the guys that make fucking these are guys that made Elden Ring Game of the Year, and Sekiro and Bloodborne and whatnot. So because more eyes are on it now you get like, and the internet is vast, and X exists now. People have takes, and we're going to talk about some of these takes. We don't have any specific things to show you, but I know when the game was first announced, and it was announced as being made by From Software, a lot of people immediately went and, oh, it's Demon Souls with robots. It's Dark Souls with robots. And I'm like, huh? Like, where are you getting that from? Just because it's From Software? It's like, yeah, I know they're known for these things, but even then, if you look at something like Sekiro, and you look at something like Demon Souls or Dark Souls 3, they might have similarities, but they're completely different games and function completely different, made by the same, development house. So I wrote that off. It's like, you guys are either trolling or you're talking out of your ass.
And to chime in, Gunner, I just have a question. Weren't all the Armor Core games made from by From Software to begin with?
So I can't speak for all of them. Definitely not 2, but I don't think From Software was really a thing when Armored Core 2 came out. I definitely know
Okay.
4 and
I think
5.
it was Age Tech. It might have been the same
Yes, Age
team
Tech.
that moved
Yes.
into From Software, or maybe Age Tech became
Okay.
From Software. I don't know the history of that, but
All right.
I remember
Okay.
Age Tech
Okay.
being the logo.
Yes, because they had
on
like
those
a
old
not a
games.
funky logo, but that kind of sounds familiar. And I believe 4 was from Software, and definitely 5.
Yeah,
So
saying 3 as well. 3
I think
also was
all the
From Software, was
PS2
a
era, I
developer.
think that was all, or most of it was H Tech, which might have been the same team for all I know. I mean, I think
yeah.
Miyazaki got on Armored Core, I think, with The Last Raven on PS2. I feel like I read that somewhere. Like, that was the game he got into. Like, one of the later PS2 games is where
Yeah,
he
maybe
started
that's
to
why
develop.
that's the one that cost so much. I don't
Probably.
know.
Just for you guys, those listening, like wondering what is going to mean by that. I'm trying to like collect a bunch of like older games. So like I ended up buying a bunch of the old Gundam PS2 games, and now I'm looking at like the Armor Core games, and those games are very. I mean, I could buy them all, but it's like it's
They're
kind of
pricey.
high for PS2 games that I may or may not get to. So
Yeah, I remember I was talking to Kong. I was like, "Oh, I have an Armored Core game, Armored Core 2. How much is that?" Thinking I got like a $200 game. Oh, it's like $20. I'm like, "Oh,
yeah,
okay,
that's the cheapest one, but
okay, cool. Oh, my bad. Okay."
yeah.
But yeah. So needless to say, Armored Core is kind of like, it's vintage. It's pricey if you want to get a physical copy of that thing. Um, but yeah. So like, a lot of people were just fucking talking out of their ass with that one. As we can see from the gameplay footage, it's not. It's an Armored Core game. I will admit, I think I don't even want to say Souls influence, because I feel like that's disrespectful to Armored Core. But there is a healing mechanic now. Now don't quote me. I don't know if any like hardcore Armored Core fans are gonna school me in the comments, but I don't remember you being able to heal in Armored Core. I remember Front Mission, a completely different game done by Square Enix, that you could heal in, but that was a strategy game. Armored Core, as I remember it, is you had your HP and your goal was to complete the missions without dying. So whatever HP you ended up at, that was actually added to your repair bill. So you obviously didn't want to
Ah,
get shot.
damn.
Yeah, that shit was hard, man. You
Yeah,
either
man.
got good or you got broke. Like,
Yeah.
like,
So the less money you had, the less inclined you were able to complete future
Oh,
missions,
100%.
basically.
100%.
yeah,
You're
Okay.
basically
Jesus
working for free. It's
Christ.
depending on how well you did or how poorly you did.
So
yeah.
that's the equivalent to like old school games where here you have 5 lives, make it work. No continues,
Effectively.
just
Yep.
Pretty much, yeah, because then you couldn't get new parts, or
ooh.
you could get. I don't want to make it sound like you're soft locked, but depending on your skill and your understanding of the game, your progression towards someone who's burning through ammo, dies continuously, is going to be vastly different, right? Um, so yeah,
Okay.
like I remember you used to have to get the mission done as fast as possible. That was usually the goal. Armor Core is traditionally, 6 kind of looks like it changes that. They were short missions. They were all mission based, and they were usually short. They were like, go in, take out these reactors. That's the mission. Go in, kill these armored cores. That's the mission. So there really wasn't a need for a healing mechanic. So now, AC6 seems to have a healing mechanic. In the gameplay footage we saw, there was like 3 repair kits, I guess, for lack of a better word. I don't know if you can modify that, if you increase it, increase its potency. I'd imagine so, maybe. But sure, if you want to give maybe that's a Souls influence, sure. I don't think it's that big of
I
a
think it's less
deal.
of a Souls influence and it's more of a modern kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
like
Yeah,
quality of life edition.
yeah.
So
I kind of
Well, if it was modern, what they would have done was, if you weren't taking damage, you'd have this regenerative ability where you're just sitting there and
Well,
you're.
I don't mean modern in the sense of like fucking hold my
I
hand
know.
baby mode. More so modern as like this is a more common. It's kind of like Monster Hunter World introducing like the ability to move while drinking a potion instead of flexing. It's kind of like that. That's how I see it.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
Okay.
like, all right, you get a little heal. Again, for all I know, you might only get 3. So that's still a difficulty at. It's like, all right, you got 3 heals. Good luck. Maybe you get charged for using a heal. I don't know. We haven't seen
Probably.
any after action reports. We've just seen gameplay. So maybe it's the same thing. It's just now it's like, hey, look, if you need to take that heal, it's 10 grand per heal. But hey, you gotta take it. You gotta take it because if you
I'm
die, it's a bigger penalty.
Well, with them, so From Software, for the many years I've played their like more recent games, they always tend to balance out the benefits that you get as the player versus the difficulty of the game. So it could be that you have these 3 med kits because, from what I'm seeing, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't have any prior Armor Core knowledge except for the Hangar and 4. The game
Great.
seems way more vast. Like the environment seems bigger than what you guys are describing, where just kill these Armor Core, that's it. Like, when you
Um,
guys speak about it, I'm thinking of like a very small enclosure where you're just fighting off these Armor Cores and then you go on to the next mission, as opposed to what we saw a few moments ago, where like the area was super vast. Like the X, Y, and Z axis was like, it looked almost endless from what I saw.
well,
You
that's
know,
definitely different. If I can like kind of dredge up my memories from AC5, I remember them having like kind of spacious zones, but in the grand scheme of things, the combat area was small because you really wouldn't have a need to go to one end of the map. You would usually just beeline to your objective. Not like what we saw where, the pilot was dropped in a specific area and he had to travel to the target zone. There was traveling, but it was always like very brief from if memory serves me. I don't
okay.
remember like and then
So
definitely like that verticality thing was not really a thing.
so
Mm,
and
gotcha.
so what I've seen, so like in Armor Core 5 from my memory, that was more like you were in like these cities. And so there was a lot of buildings, a lot of bridges and stuff. So you felt kind of closed in because it was just a lot of geometry. In some of the older PS2 games, they do have like desert plains and stuff where you kind of like you're doing more traveling. And then
Okay.
definitely
Okay.
in 4 Answer, because I remember watching like some footage of it, and like there are cityscapes and stuff, but like there's also like these big fucking battles in like the middle of the not the middle of the ocean, but like in just near this like large pool of water. You're just like skating across the sea, chasing other armor core or whatever, zipping around. So
Right,
like
right,
there was
right.
definitely like bigger, we'll call it areas of combat in the older armor core games. But I think just from my personal like hands-on experience, a lot of it was just like fighting other mechs in like these cityscapes, which felt kind of claustrophobic comparatively. And then compared to like Armor Core 6 from the footage we saw, it looks like just like the apocalypse happened, right? And this is just what's left of the
Yeah.
world. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot more like elbow room in this game, which I welcome. I think that's cool. I think that's it's going to be better for people to understand and learn how to maneuver. And I think that's going to create some real like interesting moments for people. But
Yeah.
once they master that maneuverability, like wow, like
Yeah.
just seeing the
Maybe.
gameplay, I was just like, holy fuck! Like the way he was maneuvering seemed super impressive. So
Yeah, I mean, maybe we might get a bag of goodies. Maybe we might get a mission with like small enclosures. We already got the vast areas, and maybe we might get like some water combat. Who knows? Not underwater. I mean, that would be cool too, if anything. But I doubt that that's what's gonna happen. But yeah, I only asked because it seemed like, typically when with From Software games, they always balance the scale, and the scale is usually tips in the favor of the difficulty, making it a little more challenging. So they give you a little something, but then they bump up the difficulty. Maybe the med packs is like, kind of correlates to Armor Core being a tad bit more difficult than its predecessors. So I mean,
It
we'll
could
see.
be. I kind of like. I kind of agree more with Kong's point that it's just it's kind of like
Modern.
it's like a just modern edition that doesn't destroy the integrity of Armored Core. I think Armored Core is going to be plenty tough. It's going to demand that you are constantly looking at your Armored Core, constantly upgrading it, constantly looking for new parts. Maybe doing a little grinding for cash so you can afford that new machine gun. But I think the healing is just like, it sucks when you're like zipping and zapping all over the place and then you die. So like the heal is just to like keep you afloat. And you're gonna need it for the bosses because we saw a couple of bosses. We saw a helicopter boss in the preview, and we saw this fucking shielded flamethrower missile armored core thing.
I can't wait to
Um,
fight that guy.
yeah, and that was another thing that I guess I'll call them internet people. Internet people were like, "Oh, this confirms it's just a Souls game with robots because it has bosses." And Dark Souls and Demon Souls have bosses. Elden Ring had bosses, so that means Armored Core is robot Elden Ring. It's like no.
Mario has bosses. So
I,
what do you
I
like?
could tell these people who didn't play 4 Answer and 5 because they also had bosses. Some of them were armor cores in like rival pilots. Some of them were big, giant mechs and um, floating battle barges and giant fucking mobile suits. So 4 and 5 had bosses. This is not new. This is how I can tell this is just like a new I guess a new generation of hashtag gamer that just doesn't know, but it compares to what they do know.
It's very rare for a game to not have bosses. Like the one off the back of my head that I can recall where they didn't have bosses, which was really weird for me, was the first Halo. Like that didn't have any bosses whatsoever, and it was weird to me because that was the first time, as far as I can recollect, that there was no bosses, but it still was a great game, nonetheless. But I don't see the problem with there being bosses. Like
There is
that's not
none.
that's not only like having bosses are not only attributed to Souls games. I,
I
Mario
get
has bosses, Sonic has bosses, even
right.
freaking RPGs have bosses. What are you talking about?
I just think it's because of the name attached to it. When they see From Software, their mind instantly goes to Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Elden Ring.
Yeah,
So
I think it's really that simple.
yeah.
Armor Core has always had bosses. I mean, I watched a playthrough of some of the older ones just to kind of like educate myself on the older ones because I didn't know anything about them and I didn't want to like blow $200 buying the old ones just to. Yeah, I was like, let me just watch some
Smart,
gameplay
yeah.
footage of it and see
Yeah.
what's up. And like, they definitely have bosses. Like one recurring boss was like Nine Ball. This like robot that's like not piloted by a human, but it's like piloted by AI or whatever. And it was like supposedly like the toughest boss in Armor Core. And they would like make appearances like over time. Like it would always make a comeback. And there was
Oh,
one there
Okay.
was one like instance where like you fought one Nine Ball and then like a part of the same mission, by the way, so like your health was the same and all that. You like rose like a different level or you took an elevator or some shit and then like you had to fight two. I was like, what the fuck? Like with the same
Nine Ball
health and the same
Extreme.
like ammo and everything. I was like, that's crazy. Um so there were definitely bosses in the game. Uh but again, like a lot of people are on the internet, you're kind of like not incentivized, but like you're allowed to just say stuff and not, like you just say whatever and suffer really no consequences or backlash. Um, so I think people are they're just saying the first thing that comes to mind and they don't bother to like sit and think about it or discuss it or do some research and kind of like educate themselves. They're just quick to go, oh, you know, that's that thing. Okay, it's the same thing. It's like people will see, Street Fighter, they go, oh, it's, or see Tekken, they go, oh, it's just Mortal Kombat. It's just Liu Kane's in there. It's like they don't, these are the people you don't listen to, right? Like you don't engage them.
Yeah.
It's like getting into an argument with a 5-year-old. Like what are you gaining here? Like even if you win the argument, ooh, like what is it? You only lose, and
You feel like you lost regardless. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of dumb arguments, we've seen dumb takes. The same takes we get feels like every game. Of the graphics look like look dated, because Zeta showed us a tweet where I don't even know, some fucking dude, I don't know, YouTuber, I don't know who the fuck this person is, it's like, says a really contradictory statement. It's like, the game runs great, it never dipped below 60 FPS, it ran like a dream, but the graphics look outdated. I'm like, what? Are we seeing the same game? Like, what are you talking about? Outdated? Like, and he used the same excuse that a lot of other people use: the fact that this game is also coming out on the PlayStation 4 and I believe the Xbox Series S. So it's like, because it's coming out on last gen consoles, somehow it's bad. It's like, I mean, granted, I think everybody here wants their games to look nice, right? You pay $70 nowadays for these games, and you want it to look a certain way, right? If you buy a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X, you're expecting, like, at least a base improvement. I'll speak for myself. I'm expecting a base improvement from all games I play, because I recently bought a PlayStation 5, kind of for Armored Core, even though it's going to be on the PlayStation 4, and other games that are coming out. But, Armored Core is like, I want to play it on the PlayStation 5 because what I want is 60 FPS stable all the time, especially for a game like Armored Core. Like, I don't want that dipping to like 30 or 20. Like, it's a Twitch heavy game. It's fast paced. I want it to play at 60. So if I can get the console that will guarantee that, I'm good. But to claim that this game looks outdated simply because it's on last gen consoles, is like, bro, you're being a tad bit disingenuous there. But
Yeah. Oh man, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, but I can't get so mad, or I don't even get upset, because we hear this same argument multiple times from multiple games. So,
I I tend to get upset. It tends
oh
to
yeah,
be
fine.
a very triggering perspective. Simply because I don't understand why people have this notion that games have to be of a certain graphical stature in order for it to be playable. I think the primary focus should be exactly what that person experienced, which was no drop in frames. The game played really well. Everything was running smooth, because initially, that is what a game is supposed to be. A game is supposed to be you experiencing something and engaging in it, via a controller or whatever. Um, and it's just frustrating because a lot of people disregard great games. Like, for example, Street Fighter 4 was not, in my opinion, it wasn't an aesthetically pleasing game. Like, the characters look very ugly and primitive to me, but that doesn't take away that it was a phenomenal fighting game. Like, I think people within the gaming sphere need to look past. And I understand people look at stuff for different things. Like, I enjoy a good story when it comes to games, but I think people need to look past the graphics or the icing on the cake, as opposed to like the actual cake itself. Like, the cake is the gameplay. Does it function? Do you drop in frames? Is the environment choppy? Like, are you able to accomplish your task efficiently? It just annoys me, man. It really grinds my gears, because again, a lot of games get overlooked because of this lack of graphics. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just stupid.
So there's a few things going on here, right? So number one, I don't listen to these people because these people, it's a disingenuous stance. It's been
Mhm.
proven multiple times over the last however many decades that gameplay is king, and a great game or even a good game will do well and perform well and garner a strong audience and follow, a user base if the gameplay is good despite its graphics.
Yeah.
Minecraft, Fortnite, Among Us, Devil Survivor, or was it Vampire Survivors? Right?
Vampire Survivor, yeah.
These are all games that don't necessarily look great when you compare it to something like The Last of Us 2 or God of War Ragnarok or anything like that. And that's okay, right? Those games are fine. I don't even think those games are bad per se.
Yeah.
God of War and Last of Us 2 and games of that that cloth, but those games, they're attracting a different audience, right? They're definitely going for like that large, ocean like fucking audience, whereas games like Among Us or not, maybe not Fortnite. Fortnite has a massive audience, but like some of these games like have a niche audience. Like Demon Souls and Dark Souls and Souls games was a niche game for a long time. Right? I remember when Dark Souls 1 came out, right? And I went to pick up my copy. I pre-ordered the Steelbook Special Edition. It was like, well, I don't have it anymore, unfortunately, but I went and picked up that game, and this was like 2011 or whatever, I think 2010, 2011. I went to the GameStop to pick it up, and it was something else that came out that night. I don't know what it was, but it was way more popular, and it was me and like 2 other people there for Dark Souls, right? Right. Everybody else was there for like Gears of War, or whatever the fuck was like whatever normie shit came out that day, and I was fine with it. Like it was like it doesn't matter because I know this game is like it's gonna stand the test of time. This game is awesome. Like I already played Demon Souls. I already know what I'm getting with this game, and 12 years later, 13 years later, whatever it is, ain't nobody talking about whatever the fuck came out that other night, the same night as Dark Souls 1. I couldn't even tell you. I'd have to look it up. People still talk and play Dark Souls to this day because that game is quality. Now, if you go back and you play the PS3 360 version of Dark Souls 1, it runs like garbage. It's so bad, right? But it doesn't matter because the game is fucking great. So these people who have these takes of like, this game doesn't, it's PS2 graphics and whatever, I don't listen to them, man, because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Plus, there's no frame of reference. What other mech game has like next level graphics? I'll wait. Exactly. There is none. So, and there won't be any probably for a while. So, I don't want to hear that shit. Now, if there's a game that comes out and it has like humanoid characters and you want to compare it to The Last of Us or Horizon Forbidden West, okay, then you have some frame of reference. You go, well, look at this game, right? But with Armor Core or mech games, there is no frame of reference. There is no, fucking Last of Us robots. Like, that doesn't exist. So, as far as I'm concerned, Armor Core 6 is the standard bearer for mech games in the modern era of gaming. So, if that's bad graphics, then I don't know what the fuck you want, bro. So,
yeah, I mean, couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, I mean, Gunna did say this either earlier today or the other day that these people have this take to justify their graphics card that they're buying for their for their computer.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like, I spent fucking $3K on a 4090 or whatever and the fact that I don't see the rust on the left fucking crotch joint, this game is trash. It's like, look, I get it. Your PC is big, it's beefy, it can run it at 500 frames, and I just got a shitty PS5. I get it. You're cool. I understand. But it's just like, your first statement, the fact that it consistently ran at 60 FPS and ran smooth, no hiccups, no lag, no frame dropping, no stuttering. That was the word I was looking for. No stuttering. Like, that's what matters.
Yeah,
that's what matters.
Dude, that is like a blessing in today's current gen gaming because you have all this power in these current gen consoles and some of these games still run like trash. So it's like to get a game And I've never had this issue with any From Software game when it came to like all the things that he met. I typically meet with these games. Like they run very efficiently. The only part that he missed me with was the aesthetics, like the graphics, and
He
it's
had to
like
bitch about something. Like he just had to be a negative in there somewhere. It's like anybody who's worked like a retail job or an office job or whatever, and like you're doing your job and you're doing what you got to do, and maybe you even exceeding expectations. Your boss has to justify his fucking position over you, and he has to bitch about something. Oh, the fucking there's a dust particle right here, or fucking this picture is crooked, or this marketing is crooked. It's like, really? Like, that's what we're talking about here? We're not talking about all these other, you know, positives and like all this money I'm making you, or all this great work that I'm doing. We're gonna talk about the fucking marketing being crooked, or some stupid shit like, really, there's fingerprints on the window or some dumb shit. It's like, really? That's what it is. Like, people need to like justify, their position, or in this case, they need to justify their purchase, right? There are those PC Master Race guys who like, they start fucking spitting their fucking like PC like stats, or their like the tech sheet, like, oh, I run this. I'm like, shut up. Who cares, man?
Infused,
like,
Metatron powered.
There are people who care, right? There are tech nerds who love that shit, and that's cool. Like, I'm not even hating on those guys. It's the guys who do that for the fucking attention and for the clout. Those guys can suck my, you know what? Like, get out of here with that. You're a poser, bro. Like, you have all this tech, yet you don't use it for anything. Like, what do you play? Like, really? Among Us? Like, that's what you... Get out of here, bro. I don't want to hear that shit. So, go ahead. My bad.
No, like perfect example. All right. Well, if you want to go back to those people right now, because I said it earlier, I recently got a PlayStation 5 for games like Armored Core and other stuff that's coming out. Now, I feel a PlayStation 5 is worth owning, in my personal opinion. So I have one now, and I'm playing Final Fantasy 16 currently. Due to happenstance, I managed to get myself a copy of that game without paying a dime. So that's why I'm playing it. That game is only on the PlayStation 5 currently, and when it comes out, it will only be on like PC and more than likely Series X. It's not going to be on PS4. It's not going to be on Switch. That game looks pretty, and I don't even have a 4K display. I'm using a 1080p high quality computer monitor, so I don't even have 4K. And it looks great. It's pretty. It's gorgeous. I can see the main character's hair strands. It's great. The game is... It's tough to get through. It's just like, boy, it looks pretty, but boy, does this not have a lot of substance to it.
It wasn't made for you.
Yeah, like, I knew it wasn't, but because I got a free copy, essentially, I was like, all right, it's here. I have the console for it. Let's play it. And it's just like, I'm not feeling it, right? I don't hate it. I don't love it. But somebody would, but the graphics though, but it looks so great. So it's just like, it's all a matter of perspective,
yeah,
right? Sure. I'm more interested in Armored Core because I know the substance, the meat.
It's a game.
Yeah, it's a game. It's a game,
Sorry.
Right? Granted, I'm pressing one button. I'm pressing R1 button to shoot my gun. I'm pressing the L1 button to shoot my missiles. Sure, if you want to like, minimize it, just be petty about it. Sure, but it's a game, bro. Like, there's content there. There's cooperative play. Like, all of us in this chat right now, hopefully it's crossplay. But let's say it is, we can all play together. We can rock our different armor cores and play missions together or fight other players. Like, we have options. So I'd rather take that over the game I'm currently playing that looks pretty as all hell, but it's just like, this is coming from the guy who likes Dynasty Warrior. So, come on. So yeah,
ew, you like Dynasty Warriors?
Yeah, right. I mean, I have low standards, I guess, but yeah, I don't know. But like, those comments, I agree with Kong. Like, I try not to let them get to me because it's just salty.
It's hard
people.
though. It's hard because it's such a fucking brain dead thing to say. and I don't want to give them too much like time on this episode. Like it's not about them. It's just kind of like went off the rails a little bit. But I do want to say one more thing, and I think we should spend some time talking about the boss battles in Armored Core 6. So for Final Fantasy 16, right? I was watching a podcast, like a gamer podcast, like I don't want to say it, like it doesn't matter. And one of the panelists was saying that she was playing Final Fantasy 16, and it was two people playing Final Fantasy 16 on the panel, and one person was just like a true fucking. I've been playing Final Fantasy since like Super Nintendo, and like this game is great. It's different, but I enjoy it. And he's playing it on like he doesn't have the dog, he doesn't have the rings, he doesn't have that. He's just playing the game.
Yeah.
This chick has all the accessibility shit on, like everything. And she's just like, oh yeah, I'm just pressing square, and I'm just getting through the combat sequences, and I'm back to my movie, right? That's who they're making the game for. Luckily, they have difficulty sliders in the form of rings and other in-game mechanics to like cater the gameplay to like fit, like, are you a real gamer or are you a poser, basically. But yeah, that's who they want, like, because this person wouldn't play it otherwise. So
yeah.
But it
just sucks because like realistically speaking, this is tied to monetary value, so they have to kind of extend their hand, so to speak, within the game to several different people. So that's pretty much what the cause is. But
it is what it is. I get it.
It is. That's what I was gonna say. I was just about to say that.
It is what it is. Like they got to make their money. I get it. That's okay. That's why I have these games like Armored Core for me. Like that's fine. This is for me.
Like I don't think anybody's gonna kid ourselves. Like Armored Core is not gonna sell 10 billion copies. I would love if it did.
No, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't, because then it'll change in the next iteration. Nope.
It might, but I don't think it will. I think people are gonna, even though it's simpler for us, they're gonna look at the upgrading, because they showed a little bit in the gameplay trailer that we looked at. They're gonna look at that and like, there's 4 numbers here. They go into the thousands. This is beyond me. This game is trash. I don't like it. And you know what? That's fine.
Bro,
Thank you for purchasing.
I cannot wait for the takes that come out when this game drops officially and is available to everyone.
If you
people
thought
are
Elden
going
Ring
to
was bad.
bitch. Oh my god, it's gonna be so funny. Anyway, let's talk about Armored Core 6. Like we've talked about the trolls.
Yeah.
The boss battles,
customizations. Yeah,
bro, the boss battles, the customization. We can talk about that too, for sure. Because customizing, I love customizing, but not as much as Gunner. Gunner's like the glamour. He's the glamourholic. Yeah, 100%. For me, it's all about the fights, bro. Give me the biggest motherfucker in this room, and I want to fight him. Right? That's me.
The jail battles.
Yeah.
Let me go after the biggest
robots,
guy.
Right? Give me the biggest motherfucker here. Speaking of big motherfuckers, like the dude with the
orbital gun,
orbital fucking shit. Like the fucking the solar system around him with the missiles. That shit was crazy. The moment he came up on the screen, he just seemed like a normal dude. And then the fucking rings of fate came around him, and they just shot a fucking 1,000 missiles at you. Oh shit!
And he's got like flame swords and flamethrowers.
So sick,
I'm like,
bro.
What is this guy doing?
Everything. He's doing everything.
I just hope we can take those parts and use them. Like, if they're gonna introduce Souls mechanics into this game, kind of like how when you beat a boss and you could take their soul and you get their weapon, hopefully you could like take their parts and use it for your mech as well.
That'd be interesting.
I'm just hoping.
That'd be cool. I doubt they're gonna make. Well, I mean, I don't know. Man, I don't know. I doubt they're gonna make you be a fucking planetary object that shoots like missiles and laser beams. But yeah, maybe you can make like a gun, like you said, like Soul's weapon. You can make a gun, or you can make like, there might be arms or like a hover. Because for those that don't know about Armored Core, you don't have to stick with your traditional bipedal robot. You can have robots where their legs are bended backwards for speed.
Oh my god, that
fucking
was so
spider leg robots, tank based robots, hover ones. They used Armored Core 4 and 5 had like hover robots where I don't give a shit about terrain, but they took energy. Like the customization is wild, and like it's so yeah, that'd be cool. Like, we saw a helicopter and that fucking planetoid Armored Cores. Like maybe you can make a gun from the helicopter, or maybe I don't know. That'd be cool. That'd be pretty cool.
The helicopter boss. I said this when we were watching. I don't know what it is, but like helicopter bosses in games is fucking sick. I can think back to like Sega Genesis days where like it's the boss and it's just a fucking helicopter. It's like really, but it's always such a sick battle.
Well, was it a helicopter in Vector Man? I think it was some type of aircraft, and
I
he was
remember
just moving around side to side, and
Mega Man X. That fucking helicopter boss battle. It was a mini boss, but still like pretty cool. Bionic Commando 2009 had a helicopter boss battle. That was probably like one of the highlights of that game. That boss battle was so sick because you're like swinging around and shit and like shooting at it. So
Metal Slug had some helicopter.
Metal Slug, dude. Helicopter boss battles.
Showed y'all.
Which game?
What was that game? One with the dude with the like.
Oh yeah, that weird PS1 game. That shit was weird as fuck. But my man was like destroying everything with his fucking pistols. There was another boss that they showed in the last trailer.
Like a massive like.
It was a big shielded fucking tower,
yeah.
and he had like these giant fucking like Gatling guns at the top or whatever. He was just he was just rolling toward you or toward the player and just like shooting away.
Okay.
That was fucking sick. I cannot wait to like get into these fights and like these mech battles. I know Gunner's looking forward to like just being in the garage, just spray painting and fucking customizing.
That's where I'm gonna be for a while.
Me, I just want to get out there and like take on these mammoth robots, man. I cannot wait.
Oh man, the customization is so cool. Like you can do traditional stuff like put paint, but you could put stickers, and then you can like position them anywhere you want. Yeah, you could put and they even went so far as to change the lights on the armored core, like its little sensor lights that are basically its eyes. You can fucking change the lights on that. And it's just like, and you can apply like rust and dirt in specific parts. So if you want it battle, if you want it pristine, you can change like the paint gradient. It's like, there's way too much customization. I'm not complaining, but it's just like, cool, that's where I'll be, and then I'll shoot things eventually. So, and like the game is supposedly 50 hours long. I'm not one to kind of harp on game length, because I think a 10-hour game could be better than a 100-hour game.
100%.
Yeah, but like 50 hours, that means there's content, right?
There's
how many
games? 50 hours? That's a lot of content.
Like how many games do we play that are now charging $70? Let's keep that in mind. That's the new standard, $70, and it's just like, this game's a $50 game. Why are you charging me $70? Or it's an Exoprimal, or it's a Diablo 4 that charges you $70 but has a fucking battle pass, and you have to pay $30 for skins. Like, I haven't seen anything minus the collector's edition, which is for collectors, as the name implies, that Armored Core is gonna nickel and dime me. Like, there's a few game studios that I have confidence in, and From Software is one of them, that they're just going to give me a game. Like, I'm going to get my $70 worth and more. And if they want to add a DLC mission down the line, I don't mind giving them that extra money to get more Armored Core.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like for From Software, I welcome a quote unquote battle pass because I know the content is going to be massive. Like there hasn't been DLC from a From Software game, or I'll just say Seki Soulsborne as we like to call it, that I didn't like. Like all the DLC was amazing. I got enthralled. It was fun. It was engaging. It was worth the $15.
And it was appropriately priced. It was like $15, $20, and you get like a whole nother zone, bosses, weapons, armor. It's like, so if they add that for Armored Core, like you go to a new planet or you go to a new continent on the planet, like I'm down for that. I'm down. Like, I think it's gonna be worth the $70. I don't know. I just have no regrets buying it day one. I've been getting more and more cautious with how I spend my money in this hobby, and there are a lot of games that are like, you're not worth 70, you're not worth 60, you're not worth 50. But I feel pretty confident in dropping 70 come the 25th.
Yeah, it's the 25th.
25th or 4th. Okay, yeah.
Of August. So, yeah.
I
Of
mean,
August. Yeah, I'm down.
listen, not taking away from Armor Core, but I mean the discussion, but there's a lot of promising looking games this year, and we haven't gotten this catalog of like prestige type of games, in my opinion, in a long time. Like Street Fighter 6, Armor Core, Spider Man's gonna be great.
Lies of P
Tekken,
looks really good.
Lies
Uh,
of P. What else? Arguably
Mortal Kombat 1.
MK1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say arguably MK1.
We just had Tears of the Kingdom in May.
Yeah, yep. Still playing that game, by the way. Haven't even finished it, and it's just so much content. I'm probably
Resident
over
Evil 4 remake,
100
Dead
hours.
Space remake. This was a really good year.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 16.
Listen, Final
I mean,
Fantasy 16. I'll give it to
played
y'all.
but let's see. Let's see.
16, Diablo 4. There was a lot of big names, big hitters.
Bro, I could make a whole rant video about that game, and I haven't finished it yet, but I think I got the gist of it. Anyway, I don't want to get into it.
I mean, we could do that at some point.
Yeah, there's a lot of decent contenders for the Game of the Year spot. I still think it's going to be Tears of the Kingdom.
It's between Tears and Hogwarts. Even though my heart says,
I forgot.
Yeah,
about
Hogwarts
that.
is another one. Yeah, like this is a really good year, man. Year 3
Yeah.
for almost any generation, I think, has been like, GOAT. Like year 3 is always a year to look forward to for any console generation.
That's true.
So, yeah, that's Armor Core 6. We're looking forward to it. We'll all be playing it. We'll probably do like an impressions video.
Yeah.
Talking about like what we thought about the game that first week. So look out for that. You guys have any like last minute thoughts before I kind of wrap it up and go home?
Not really. I mean, I think there's enough information now for an educated consumer to kind of gauge if this is for them. Armor Core is not for everybody. And much like Demon Souls, I hope From Software kind of sticks to their guns and says like this is how we envision Armor Core, and we'll make certain concessions like the healing mechanic to kind of make it a little bit less burdensome on the player. But this is how our game is designed. It's okay if it's not for you, right? I know they get a lot of heat from the community, quote unquote, that Demon Souls is unfriendly. It's not. It blocks people.
It's not
from
inclusive.
Yeah, there you go. It's not inclusive, and it's like, you know what? It's okay. We live in a wide world where games are out there in varying skill levels and difficulty levels for everyone. Maybe just play that. Watch a streamer, watch a VTuber, watch them play Dark Souls, watch them play Armored Core. Then you can experience it, even though, you wouldn't like it. So
Man,
that's it.
That rhetoric is such a pain in the ass. Like every game is for everyone. You just have to be cognizant in knowing
We have
that
to be willing to put in the work. Cause like some games
Exactly.
are gonna take like it's like playing instruments. I don't know how to play any instruments, but like I know that they're from what I
no, Kong, they're
understand.
not for you because you don't know how to play them right off the bat. They're not for you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What the fuck? But like there are instruments that are harder to like master than others, right? They're like, I don't know which ones. I have no fucking clue. But I have friends who do music, and like they would tell me, like playing guitar is like easy, but like doing piano is like a whole nother level of difficulty, right? And it's like nobody. I'm sure, I could be wrong. Nobody in like the music space is like, we need to nerf pianos. Like,
Yeah, like it's not like a sport where you have to be born with a certain physical caliber to join the NBA or the NFL. Like those things, it's probably not for you if you're like 4'1" and scrawny as shit, right? But all you need for games is your 2 eyeballs and your fingers and a brain. Like mostly everyone has.
Sometimes
that.
you don't even need that. There are people with like physical disabilities who play games better than me, and they're using their feet or some
That's
shit.
Yeah.
So
even that,
listen,
that's true. And which proves the notion that they made it work. They're like, oh, the whole gaming sphere is not for me because typically people use their hands, but you know what? I'm gonna make it for me because I'm using my feet. Like,
But even
just
there
put in
are
the
just
work.
some games that are not your cup of tea. That's fine. If Armored Core
Yeah.
is not your game, then no, you're not. You're under no obligation to play it. You can play literally anything else.
Yeah, but that's not how people operate. People
Yeah,
it
want
isn't.
to
You're absolutely
bitch
right.
and like, if I can't play it, then nobody should. Which is like such a like, why? Go away.
yeah. I want to
So-
be a vegan and a carnivore all at the same time. Like,
I mean,
Listen,
look
man.
at From Software's latest
can't have it
game,
both.
fucking Elden Ring. People were just so salty they couldn't play the damn thing that it's like, oh, they should add easy mode. Why don't they add it easy mode?
Bro,
This is unfair.
that tree sentinel was putting in work. He was gatekeeping like a motherfucker.
Yo, he did better than any of us.
Tree sentinel was putting in work. He was like,
He-
yeah, like if you can't get past me, this ain't for you, dog.
Like, bro, it's just like that. You got to see a lot of videos and articles like the hairstyles suck. Like, yeah, the reason you're talking about the hairstyle is that's all you have access to because you didn't make it far. You can't talk
True.
about fucking the
True.
final boss of the game because you don't even know what it is. So we're gonna talk about the
yeah,
hairstyles.
I know what it is. I watch YouTube.
Okay, yeah.
All right, we sound like elitists. Let's simmer
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
Let's simmer down. All right,
You're
so
right.
that's Armored Core 6. Check it out. There's a bunch of videos on it, video breakdowns. There's a few trailers. I think it's a great game. It's a great franchise. If you are interested in like mechs or action adventure games in that space, right? I think it's worth a look at the very least. It does come out August 25th of this year. I don't think it's winning game of the year, unfortunately, but I just hope that it does well as far as like sales go, so that they can continue supporting the AC franchise. So that's my hope, right? So we'll see. I'm buying 2 copies, one for me, one for my brother. I might get the collector's edition as well. So
Do
we'll
it.
see.
Oh
We'll,
shit!
we'll
Do
see.
it.
We'll see.
Just do it.
Hey, if you can get it physical because always support physical. I'll just
100%. Yeah, try to get a physical copy. Because in 10 years, who knows what's going to happen with the digital stores. But anyway, that's a different podcast type conversation. If you enjoyed this content, like it. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Leave a comment down below and let us know what you think about Armored Core 6. Or you can correct us if we made any mistakes about Armored Core or any other issues you might have had with the conversation. You can leave a comment down below. Subscribe for more content. We do podcasts every week. We publish every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. We also do other forms of content as well. We do 2-minute reviews. We do long-form gameplay content. There's like a few shorts on the channel as well. Esoteric, he does most of the main content on Twitch. It's what is it? Twitch.tv/LogicalGamersTV, right? Is that correct?
Yep.
He streams 2 to 3 times a week. He plays a variety of different games, so check him out. The links are in the description. We also have social media as well, so we have Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, TikTok as well. We also have a Discord. All those links are in the description down below, so give that stuff a look if you're interested. And with that being said, catch you in the next one. Peace.
Till next time.
Take care.